Simmo and Goss heading for that top of 29. Currently 15.8 degrees. Mark Duffield in after 8 o'clock with mornings. He'll preview after 7:30. Alrighty, so we are 6 teams down and we move on to our next 6 in our season preview. Gold Coast, St Kilda, Fremantle, Collingwood, Carlton, Hawthorn. And you're a believer that we're only doing a ladder predictor for the first 6 weeks
different.
because you believe, and most coaches would probably agree, that the game changes after 6 weeks. A little bit.
Everyone's doing this at the moment, aren't they? The rise and falls and ladder predictors. But I think up until around 6, you can have a more of a professional eye on it, to be honest, because even the next couple of weeks with injuries are going to probably change what it's going to look like. And then I reckon after around 6 or 7, the game does deviate, and if you're up to speed and you're in contention, you do need to tweak your style of play.
Well, we are going to dissect those teams. Have we got last week's 6? Of course, don't forget we had last week's ladder predictor and our season preview. We started with 6 teams. So just repeating, Gold Coast, St Kilda, Fremantle, Collingwood, Carlton and Hawthorn are our teams. All right, start with Gold Coast.
Well, it's interesting. Dimmer's second year and expectations last year were pretty high, weren't they? I mean, a lot of people had them playing finals. Away form was an issue. They've got some good players through the trade period, and Rioli and Noble coming onto the list.
What do they bring, those two?
Well, it's just more talent, isn't it? Speed. Yeah. Well, look, they're still where are they for an age profile? I reckon they're not as young as you think either. So, second year in as a senior coach, I think a lot of teams who have a new coach who come in, second year's a good year. First year's always a challenge, you sort of find your feet, but my anticipation is that they're going to have a pretty good year with some of the inclusions, as long as they stay healthy. Talent is there and expectations are that they play finals.
Did you see anything when Damien Hardwick is coaching them, anything Richmond inside the way they played?
That's a good question. No, not really. I didn't see it jump off the page, and you got to be careful too. I mean, I'm sure even Minnie's not doing it. Let's play like Richmond did in 2017. The game's changed a little bit from a system point of view, but the essence around the dynamic forward movement, tsunami style football is definitely part of Dimmer's DNA.
Alrighty, where do you have them after 6 rounds?
I've got them third, 4-2. Where have you got them?
I've got them 11th, 3-3. So it's amazing. One difference. One. That's how condensed it's going to be.
I just keep thinking the home ground advantage will still hold them in good stead with the conditions and how humid and slippery.
You're a believer in the conditions, aren't you?
It was just so difficult to play up there. It's really like playing wet weather football. And anyone who hasn't experienced much of that in the east or the west and they go up there, it's probably a 2 or 3 goal advantage.
Alrighty, so there it is there. Simmo has them currently third on the ladder after 6 rounds, being a 4-2. Let's go to the Saints, and well, there was that big pitch over the weekend, that verbal to Finn Callaghan from GWS, but if you haven't heard the news, he has re-signed with the Giants for 4 years. How do you see the Saints year going? Yeah,
interesting with Ross and what he's trying to do. I think he has changed his style of play to some degree. I reckon halfway through last year when he sort of thought the season might have been a bit of a write-off, distinct change in attacking mindset. Obviously, he's built off defence, but the slingshot type of footy wasn't working as well as I think he thought it would, and particularly the injuries as well. So, become a lot harder to play against in the last 6 or 7 weeks, but scored more. So, unfortunately, it just looks like they've hit a few more injuries again this pre-season, and how he covers the cracks is interesting. He probably does it better than anyone. And even on the weekend against Carlton, they had a good performance, pretty even game, but with an inferior side.
Alrighty, so St Kilda is the team. Where do you have them after 6 rounds?
Where have I got them after 6 rounds? I've got them 1-5. I got them at 17.
Yeah, same. 1-5 and 16.
Yeah, tough draw to start with. I'm sure Ross won't be happy about hearing that, but that's just the way it is. Fremantle,
down the road. How do you see the shaping in the first half a dozen weeks?
Got a tough draw, Fremantle. We've spoken a lot about them anyway. And, last week's game, I think now we can all put that to bed about it's just a pre-season scratch match, really. I think the rotations just from that Indigenous game was something like 170 to 90 rotations. So you can imagine, I thought Fremantle were going to come back in that last quarter and show a bit of fight. But when you rotate double almost, it's hard to stay on top of the ground. So they were preparing for round one. The All-Stars they were just trying to win at all costs. So Bolton coming in is very important for them. Obviously, Young is an A-grader. Darcy will be interesting. We need to get him back and going for that combination to work well. And expectations are high.
The reports are that they believe Reedy will lead the ruck. Jackson will play predominantly forward in particular while Darcy's not there.
Yep. Well, that's the model around the two rucks. If they want to stick with it and not disrupt the side too much when Darcy's out, it means there's a role for two rucks. We want two rucks in. We like it, and whether it's Darcy or Reed, we'll go with it. 6
weeks in, the ladder predictor, your season preview for Fremantle.
Yeah, I've got him at 3 and 3. I've got him at 9th.
4 and 2 for me and 4th. Fremantle fans will be loving hearing that.
The Bulldogs' injuries worries me. I think they got the Bulldogs early, so I can't remember a tip to win that. But, 9th at the moment.
Alrighty, so far...
And don't panic at 9th, guys. Just relax. 3 and 3 is okay.
When do you panic as a Freo fan?
When you're 3 and 7. When you're 3 and 7.
Alrighty. So far in this ladder predictor and our season preview, Simmo's got Gold Coast 3rd. I've got them 11th. The Saints, Simmo's got them 17th. I've got them 16th. And Freo, you've got them 9th.
Yeah.
And I've got them 4th. Alrighty.
Okay. Are you bullish on Fremantle overall?
I think they need everything to go their way. I still am worried about their forward line. Josh Tracy, and then there's a gap for mine. And they do need Amos to kick 40 goals. Collingwood.
Interesting, Collingwood. Oldest list in the competition. Clearly, all or nothing type of attitude. And the health of their list is probably the most intriguing because they need the best players out there. And they're having another swing, aren't they? So, their style of play... so hard to stop. The confidence in that premiership year, it was just inevitable that the run-on was going to happen. I don't think that same belief was there last year. It was glimpses. Can they get that back? So as much as they're personnel-driven, coach very well, but once the spark hits and the run-on starts, that's when they're at their most dangerous. And if they get that going, anything's possible. If they don't, it could go the other way. Is
there a depth issue there? Are you concerned, as you talk about them being their age profile and the experienced players when they're all up and about? Are you...
Yeah, I suppose there is, but the belief takes over the depth. If they have that belief that our system works and can beat anyone at any time, it's infectious. It's not every club can do it. They're probably the best of almost. Richmond were the same. They can... with whatever are out there, they play their way. And if they get going, they're really hard to stop.
So where do you have them?
I've got them at 13th at 2 and 4.
2 and 4. So a slow start for the Pies. I've got them 9th at 3 and 3. Carlton. Then Carlton's news, Jagger Smith, a good young talent. No one knows how much footy he was going to play, but everyone was saying that he'd be a regular. They've lost Nick Newman. There's a doubt on Charlie Curnow. Where do you have them?
Geez, Matt Owens is going to be interesting.
Huge.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. That was a great get from West Coast.
Correct. Kane Corns did make mention. So they go after Francis Evans in the SSP, but they've let... Kane believes that their salary cap must be so tight that they couldn't afford...
You find a way. If you want to keep him, you keep him. I'm sure... Yeah, that can't be the only reason. But, they're...
Funny you should say that, because that's exactly what Cummings said. Sitting in that chair, he said there's got to be an undercurrent story there somewhere.
Mate, from all reports, he's an absolute outstanding person. As much he's a team player. He's kicked 60 goals last 2 seasons. He looks like he's fitted in well at West Coast, and it's Carlton's loss. So they haven't got a lot of ins in terms of list profile. I think... obviously, Jake Smith, that was really disappointing to hear. Nick Haynes will be interesting, whether he's part of their best 22. And the health of their list seems to be the biggest issue, albeit I did hear Vossi talk about actually not too bad, so let's just calm down a little bit. That was before the weekend, though. So, the pressure will be on to perform. I thought they did a pretty good job last year with the injuries they had. They limped into the finals, and got what they got, but... Yeah, they need to be healthy.
All right. Well, I've done my ladder predictor too early, but on the back of the news of Smith and Newman and doubts on Curnow, where do you have them?
I've got them at 13th.
Wow.
2 and 4.
I've got them 5 and 1. Second.
Well, that's the predictor.
Yeah, exactly right.
Can we change? We can't change this after.
Well, we're going to come up with our 18 in order, and then if you want to make some subtle changes prior to the season, I'll allow it.
Okay.
All righty. Hawthorn. Oh, well, they've recruited 2 key defenders.
Yeah, but, No, they are the hottest team in the comp at the moment in terms of the direction, aren't they? I mean, what Sam's done since he's been at the club, the list he's helped build, and the list he inherited as well. And I know a lot of good work's been done the last few years, and they've recruited really well. And over the off season, their best 22 is hard to pick. The depth is there. But let's just not think it's going to carry on as well. I think there's a lot of work to be still done. Last season after round 5, they were 0-5.
Yeah.
So they, a bit like Collingwood, they hit the sweet spot. Their belief in their system and in each other, it didn't matter who was playing, they just rolled on. And as a coach, you sort of back away and let the team, suddenly one win turns at 5 in a row, and it's just a good rhythm you're in. So does that continue on this year? That'll be the test. And the start of the season is important for Hawthorn because if they can find that groove, they can achieve anything. But I don't think it's going to be as linear as what we all think.
Is there an overconfidence about the group for the messaging from an outsider looking in? Do your players are talking about it? Barris and Battle are there, so that's taken care of the back half.
I don't think they're talking about it. I think everyone else is. So I think the assumption is that the swagger sometimes doesn't match the output. Yeah, I'm not quite sure. I think the way they act on field and the way they celebrated sort of was unique. And
you condone that?
Yeah, look, as long as you back it up. If you back it up, do what you want. If you don't back it up, I can hit you. Yep. That's probably how I.
They were good to watch. I must admit, they were really good.
Exciting
to watch.
Style. It wasn't.
Were they hard to coach against?
Yeah, well, everyone was hard to coach against last few years.
Just in regards to their style, did they have a style that was obvious?
Look, I thought early on it was very offensive in Sam's first couple of years. It was more around, just switch and go and just kamikaze. And a lot of their scores were from the back half. It wasn't really the modern front half, get it in, lock it in. It was more dynamic than that. But that was just the way Sam approached it. It was more offense than defense. I don't think they put a lot of work into Oppo early, Hawthorn. I reckon they just played. I thought last year they've done a little bit more work on opposition. This year, I think opposition will do more work on them.
All righty. So, 6 games into the year, where do you have them?
I've got them at 4th at 4-2.
So you've got a good start. Oh, well, I'm flipped that. I'm on 2-4 starter. I've got them 14th. Scotty Cummings again sitting in that chair. He believes that they'll come back to the field a little bit after what they achieved last year. All righty. So this is what our ladder predictor looks from these games, from these 6 teams. Gold Coast, Simmo's got them 3rd. St Kilda 17th. Fremantle 9th. Collingwood 13th.
I got them 14th.
14th. Carlton 13th. And Hawthorn 4th. And last week you had Richmond last, West Coast 16th, Bombers 15th, North 9th, Melbourne 5th, and Adelaide getting a fast start 2nd. So that'll leave us 6 teams going forward. Agree or disagree? Get in touch with us, 13 12 55 0487 736 736. A question from Ray, and I think we touched on this when we talked a couple of weeks ago. Again, it's the obvious question out of Fremantle. Darcy and Jackson combo. Now, we know that Darcy's not there initially. He's going to miss the first couple of weeks. Can it work?
Absolutely. Yeah, of course it can. And it looks like it's a system piece as well, because if Darcy's not there, they're still going to play, if that happens, they're still going to play another ruck. So
is every team 2 ruck? Is every team?
No, not at all. Not at all. I saw Darling in the ruck on the weekend for North. So, yeah, the pinch hit a forward or play 2 rucks, but the second ruck has to be a 20, 30 goal kicker. So Jackson, is he going to be a forward that pinch hits in the ruck? I've seen him on ball as well. So Jackson's a unique player. He's so important for Melbourne in that premiership year. And, obviously don't see him as a main ruck.
All righty. So the ladder predictor, for just repeating as we go to the break and coming back between the lines, as to what do the players and the coaches, what are they actually saying out of the weekend? We'll get Simmo's spin on that. So Simmo so far has Gold Coast 3rd, Saints 17th, Fremantle 9th, Collingwood 14th, Carlton 13th, Hawthorn 4th. Richmond 18th, West Coast 16th, Bombers 15th, North 12th, Melbourne 5th and Adelaide 2nd. We'll do 6 teams next week and we'll allow a little wriggle room to see how that shapes. Our ladder predictor, and this is all up to 6 weeks, so don't all jump on it thinking that we've declared their seasons already. It is just 6 weeks in.